to my channel. As mentioned in my last video, I'll be discussing my health experiences whilst following the carnivorous way of eating. I'll progress through the list of conditions I have so far been able to alleviate symptoms of. But firstly, I want to point out that this was just my anecdotal experience of what I have improved at the moment. You may get different results, but please consider the ideas I am putting across. There is nothing within this video which should be considered medical advice. Please consult with your medical professional before undertaking anything I might mention. To start, I have suffered from eczema since birth. I've been prescribed various medications and creams to help alleviate the symptoms of this condition. As with many things, once something is introduced, it might not always resolve the issue in the long term. You may find some temporary relief from using these, but the key word here is temporary. It was not until I incorporated more oily fish, fatty meat, and actually reduced my water intake that I've been able to improve my condition. As a result, the skin on my wrists has greatly improved, as well as my shins, which have been plagued with cuts for over 18 months. I was diagnosed with myalgic encephalomyelitis, ME, or also known as chronic fatigue syndrome, at the age of 14. My only advice received at that time from my healthcare professional was that I take a few Pro Plus caffeine tablets. Outside of that, I have battled for years, complaining numerous times of immense fatigue and struggling to explain my symptoms to others. I recently asked to be referred to my local chronic fatigue clinic. Funnily enough, my referral was declined, as I go to the gym and I'm able to maintain some level of physical fitness. I believe this was a level of clinical negligence, as it did not take into account the level of difficulty I have to do those few hours each week in the gym. I get questioned all the time, how are you able to go to the gym if you have chronic fatigue? It is often asked in an accusational manner, as if to say I'm lying about my condition. What they don't see is that I'm laying flat on my back in bed for around 18 hours per day, every single day. Some days my symptoms are much better, however some days they are much worse. I've noticed that my symptoms do not often match the level of exertion that I place my body in the gym. However, despite all this, I've had a general sense of well-being and better understanding of my body as a result of the carnivore diet. Now I can manage my macronutrient intake to sway the energy I have available each day. I will confess, I have not yet put this health issue into remission, but I am certain and hopeful that in time I will. Sometimes health complications can take a while to iron out, but I am still relatively young, so time is on my side. The next topic of my health I want to discuss is autistic spectrum disorder, associated closely with depression and anxiety. The idea of broadcasting any length of video online with friends is not something I would have been able to do a year ago. Now, thanks to my understanding of the proper human diet, I'm able to. Much like the topic of eczema I discussed earlier, the intake of more dietary healthy fats has improved my symptoms. My concentration is better, I am more sociable, and masking my autism in public is a lot easier. I've had to come to terms that the neurotypical people I might meet may not be able to easily interpret me as a person. Now I'm able to have conversations with people more often that I feel are less awkward and difficult. I have a better understanding now of the gut-brain barrier. This is the fact that we have our close, interconnected relationship between establishing a healthy digestive system, our mental health and cognition in general. Something which I'm sure most people in this community would agree is that digestion greatly improves as a result of this way of eating. No longer am I consuming over 2.5 kilograms of food each day. It's much closer to around 1 kilogram, which for me is cheaper and a more efficient means of nourishing myself. Something not discussed often is our gut permeability. This is the measurement of how well our body is able to manage elements of nutrition within our intestines. A healthy gut will sustain appropriate permeability through having the right tools and resources to repair any microscopic tears. The flow of nutrients between these cell membranes is critical for our long-term health, as many diseases are associated with poor intestinal permeability. It is important to remember that an effective and well-run digestive system will help most of our health outcomes. A lot of energy is lost during times of poor digestion, so having an ancestrally appropriate diet containing the least toxic foods is critical to achieve this. Something that is a more recent issue is my spine disease. I suffer with something called spondylitic spondylolisthesis and something called bilateral pars defect, and foraminal narrowing at the L5-S1 level. The general outcome for patients of this disease is poor. However, I'm hopeful that I can mitigate further pain by managing the inflammation in my spine. I'll need to have a spinal fusion surgery, which aims to improve my condition and therefore reduce my symptoms. This is something I have to document when that time comes. Many people within the online carnivore community have experienced tremendous benefits from having an appropriate setup in regards to diet and various lifestyle factors. Things such as removing foods that they are intolerant to, increasing or decreasing exercise volumes, reducing exposure to artificial light, etc. can all play a part. I can go into further details individually about the mentioned health conditions I have experienced in future videos, especially if the demand is there from my viewers. As someone watching this channel, you're largely focused on health. So from this perspective, I would have to say that altering our diet, lifestyle and environmental factors is what is going to drive long-term success. I'll discuss how these factors come into play in future videos. In the next video, I'll discuss how this way of eating has improved my physique. I'll talk about my thoughts on the calories in, calories out idea, macros, and how it all can affect exercise performance and physique outcomes. So please like, comment and subscribe for future updates.